Hello, everyone. Biagio here, and welcome to the very first episode of the Mind Positivo podcast, where podcast meets talk show with a fusion of interesting conversations and amazing guests, and a touch of music at the end of the episode. And to help me bring this episode to you is my co-host, all the way from Montreal, Canada. She is an award-winning singer-songwriter, producer, presenter. That's just some of the things she does. Her name is December Rose. Rosie, thanks for joining me.
Hi, so nice to see you again.
Likewise. Rosie, thanks for joining me. Today we've got a wonderful guest. We'll introduce him in a second. But this Mind Positivo show will be also touching on a trending topic that's going on at this moment. And we're going to touch on AI. So that's the topic we'll touch on today as well. But let's introduce our guest. His name is George Denikian. George is an Australian news media icon. Having started in radio, quickly moved to television. Did you know he was the inaugural host of the very first multicultural television channel in Australia? And he also worked with many of the big media companies in Australia. He's currently the executive producer and director of Denikian Media. George, welcome to the show.
Biagio and to Rosie, thrilled to be with you guys. And I'm also delighted to tell you that when we launched that multicultural broadcasting network a lifetime ago, Rosie, well before you entered this earth plane, we frightened not only Australia, but we showcased something really exciting to the rest of the world. We put this window up and allowed Australians who had never seen the world around them, because Australia is at the other end of the globe, right? So and you've got to remember, Australians are the greatest travelers that were ever put on this earth. You think about it, wherever we go, it's got to be 20, 30 hours. We don't do a 1 hour flight. We don't do a half-hour flight. We do 20, 30, 40 hours. So just think of that. So when we showed Australia all those years ago that there was a real world out there, we started the tourist blitz that has followed ever since. So if you want to blame anybody for all this tourism, it's us.
Wow.
So George, your story and journey started in radio, like I said, but you're originally a Sydney boy. George is in Melbourne, Victoria, Rosie, so he lives in another state, but he's originally from Sydney, and you started out in radio. That was your first venture into media. Is that right, George?
My first love was always and remains radio, because it's the most immediate medium that you can have. It's just you and the audience, and the audience can be 1 or 1,000 or 1 million or 100 million. That's the magnificence of this medium. It allows you to speak one-to-one. It's something that Elon Musk and Donald Trump try and do every day. They don't believe in mass anything. They believe in direct marketing, straight to you. And they learned it with this new technology. I learned it when some very special people allowed me to begin this craft a lifetime ago. So it's been a love affair. You're right.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy in the beginning, right?
Oh, well, in Australia, like many parts of the world, if you have a rather long, complicated name that suggests you may not be an original, they get a little bit uncomfortable until, of course, you prove yourself. But it's like everything else. Rosie knows that in stagecraft and in the world of entertainment, until you can show people that you really belong, that you have the talent, they look at you kind of askance. But once you prove yourself and they engage, that's that lovely word we all love, engagement, then everything changes. Then you actually have something special to converse in. It's called your talent and your energy and your love of life. And looking at Miss Rosie from here, I can tell that there's a professional there, because on her right shoulder there's a piano. I would suggest to you a little bit further on, there's more technology there than Buzz Aldrin had on the lunar module when they landed on the moon way back in 1969, Rosie. I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to ask you what you were born in, but it wasn't 1969.
No, I was a 90s baby.
Yeah. So the world's grown a little bit, Rosie. We've changed,
Sure.
and thank God for that.
Sure.
But Rosie, you would experience the same there in Canada, right? Those challenges.
Yeah, I mean it's just like George said. I mean it's always like that. You're always kind of an outcast until suddenly your talent is worth something, and then everybody, you become the next hot thing. Actually, I like to put it this way: when you're the flavor of the month. So we're kind of in that era right now. What's the flavor of this month? And so,
Or what's trending? What's trending?
Yeah. So your talent is either going to be iconic or it's going to be a flavor. Personally, I strive for iconic, but until
You know what I've learned in this life? I've learned that Canadians have an enormous capacity to absorb great talent. Wherever you look, many of the Hollywood stars are Canadians. Many of the people who actually have some wonderful careers or have managed to establish wonderful careers are Canadian. You think of the music scene, think of the absolute iconic names that we know, and the woman that stood up on the Eiffel Tower for the Olympic Games last year and did the most magnificent rendition of that anthem. Yeah. Where do you think she comes from?
Sure, she's from right here, Quebec.
Correct.
So
Quebecois. Yeah. So when you see the real thing and they showcase themselves that way, you can't help but embrace them. And many great adventures lie ahead for you, Rosie. I'm sure of it.
Thank you. I'm an adventurous person. I feel like you need that. You need to go and see things and try things and share with people. So that's what it's about,
Be like Biagio.
There we go.
No borders. Knock them over.
No.
God help you, Rosie. God help you. But so Rosie, do you I was going to let you ask George a question in a sec, but with the Canadian point of view of Australia, we get to see a lot of, like George said, after George started the very first multicultural channel, he was the inaugural host. It opened Australia up to the world, and people were coming. Do you get to see a lot of us, or we don't even exist on the radar? Because I could see, the snowstorm that you were having, it was even on Rai, the television show. But does Australia get a bit of a play there or not?
Honestly, no. You guys don't get a lot of coverage, at least from the media that I consume. I don't see a lot of Australian coverage other than things I see online from Australians that I know. I'm not sure why that is exactly. But
you're a long way away.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, the most coverage that we're gonna see is about Trump. So that's kind of our news dinner.
No, and that's your news focus. Every news producer in Canada will always look next door. That's one for a start. It's the easiest vision you have. It's the cheapest vision you have, and you also know it better than most. If you were trying to do a story on Australia, you would need a correspondent in Australia to give you some perspective, and that's costly. And in this day and age, that costs are what drive most of what we do. Yeah.
Right.
If we can do it with
sense.
technology and a little AI to help us, then so be it. And this is where the promise is AI is going to allow us to take on the world and showcase ourselves like never before. Well, you know very well, Rosie, that the promise and the delivery, there's quite some distance between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And that's where we are right now.
So from your perspective, do you think AI is something to fear or to be excited about for media?
Well, life is not about fear. The fear is a reaction. Yeah. Decision is courage. Courage is what we do when we want to, blaze a new pathway. So for me, let's not be frightened. If you can frighten yourself to death without
Sure.
getting out of your front door.
Sure.
So for me, it's not about fearing it, but understanding it. And the better we prepare it to help us, the better it will be. But there'll be missteps along the way. Already we can see that it's not quite what it's been, touted to be. But
Sure.
it's like, I would put it to you, Rosie, it's like our first steps. Our first steps,
Sure.
not too steady. Yeah, you're a toddler.
Right. Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
few steps, and then you become a little bit more steady on your feet. You're walking a little bit. Then you walk faster. Then you break into a trot, and then into a run. And I think AI is going to follow that pathway. Why? Because that's how nature works. Nothing
Right.
really comes up and goes, boom.
Yeah. So what do you think about how let's say it's being integrated into media, like taking over, music, let's just say.
Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, so I mean, I think they're doing that because there's like nobody to pay out for it, right? So
Got
it's
it.
like
Got
cutting
it.
corners on
Cutting
royalties
corners.
and like credits.
Bottom line.
Right. So, that's kind of, I guess, where I'm curious about like how we embrace that, or should we fear that like what is the future of musicians if like we can just generate a bunch of product from an AI artist and not have to pay anybody.
Well, you'll have to pay someone, and it'll be have to be. And first off, it'll be a license to have your AI. So already the people producing the AI co-pilot, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is going to have to be paid. And how much they're going to be paid is going to vary, because believe me that if you think it's, say, $100 now, 10 years from now, it'll be $400. Why? Because we will have become so used to it, and it'll be like wearing a beautiful jacket. You don't want to take it off, because without
Okay.
that jacket, you won't be able to do a thing. It'll be like your first wearable. Everywhere you go, your sleeve is going to allow you to, record the news. Your other sleeve is going to make you produce the music to blend in with a vision.
Right.
And the thing that you sit on, the back part of your jacket, will probably be the control mechanism. So beware where you sit, Rosie.
Yep.
That's the vision we're painting for you right now. Are you
that.
terrified, Rosie?
No, I like that. That's very creative.
We have to be in Australia. We're so far away from the rest of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell Rosie that we last stopped before Antarctica, George.
Hang on. Antarctica, at the rate it's receding, we might be just us.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And George is closer to Antarctica than I am. I'm in Sydney, so he's Melbourne, so
I'm in
he's
Melbourne.
closer to
Okay.
there. So George, just a question back on the AI for
Yeah.
your old news media landscape that
Yeah.
you obviously know very well. What do you see happening there? We were talking before we jumped online about the amount of resources current broadcasters have now compared to what they'll have in the future. Do you think AI will change that?
Yeah, it's already changing. It's already changing. What AI is promising to do is help you harness all the tools to be able to use them, and use them faster. You'll be able to scan through a story that has just been delivered to you via satellite, and instead of you spending 2 hours looking through it and try, as a reporter, for example, or as a producer, trying to ascertain the bits that you want, AI will be able to do it for you. You'll ask AI, I want the best bits of Rosie's concert. I want the intro, the highlight, and the end. And can you wrap it up for me? Give me 3 minutes, and it'll scan it. It'll cut the pieces it wants. It'll make sure there's a wonderful line, a progressive line through it, so it looks natural. And you'll put publish, and it'll hit the publish button, and it'll be delivered to your desk or to your computer in, say, 3 minutes. That that would have taken me 3 hours. The old rule in television was to produce 1 minute of television time, it took an hour. So I put it to you, if they're going to produce 1 minute of television tomorrow, the promise will be, 30 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. So in that way, it's unmatchable. What it'll also do, though, it'll cut out 5 people.
Yeah.
So you won't have a newsroom of 200 or 1,000. The old newsrooms at CNN, the old beautiful studio at CBS that I visited back in 2014 and again in 2009. They were beautiful, crafted newsrooms that had talent everywhere, and you could see it wherever you looked. There were people. Well, they'll be like skeleton crews. You'll have 10 people running what was once 500 people in a newsroom, but those other people will have to, become specialists in their own craft and be able to deliver something else somewhere along the line. So it's not about losing jobs, it's about creating other jobs. As someone once said to me, don't worry about what comes tomorrow, because you might end up doing a job that hasn't been invented yet. And as this will frighten Rosie. When I was born, Rosie, there was no television.
Oh.
In Australia.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh.
So
okay.
people say to me, "Oh, did you ever want to be a news anchor?" My response always was, "No," because
I didn't know what it was.
We didn't know, and I was an ethnic kid, and ethnic children were the last to even dream of being considered. And when I was given the job, I had to pinch myself to think that someone was game enough to give a young ethnic boy with no television experience whatsoever, Rosie, the first national role to launch the inaugural news. It was unheard of. So extraordinarily fortunate. But the thing that I learnt, and the thing that I encourage others to always remember, if someone gives you a new job or gives you an exciting new role, don't think you know everything. Ask as many questions as you possibly can. Be as humble as you can, and be like a great big mop. Soak up everything you can manage and retain as much of it as you can. And then whatever you add to it is that wonderful spirit that separates Rosie from George. Yeah, we're two different people, but what you bring to the table is just as exciting as what I used to bring to the table a lifetime ago.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, I understand.
With less hair.
It's quite all yours looks slick. It's beautiful.
but my hair was jet black.
Yeah.
Oh my! Hey, white is fashionable, though. You know, white is very fashionable.
Oh, right, silver fox. Is that what you're going to call
it? That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. Good enough for George Clooney. Good enough for George Danikian. Yeah. Okay. You got me. You got me now.
Nah, George looks pretty good for his age, Rosie.
Yeah. Don't tell her how old I am.
Nah. You're 46, all right?
Oh,
you're 46. Okay?
Oh, I wish.
So you, George, are now helping and developing the future media people. Can I call them like that?
Yeah, I'm mentoring a lot of new talent.
Nice.
And I'm also trying to encourage businessmen and women to understand the challenges of modern media, because those challenges have become infinitely greater and more complex as the world has changed around us. The arrival of social media has created a whole new problem. On many levels, it's exciting and it's terrific, but also the thing that Rosie will appreciate more than anything else, you as a musician earned your stripes, did you not?
Yeah.
And you had to battle through rejection. You had to battle through testing yourself before you finally arrived at a stage where you considered yourself capable and professional.
Yep,
and yet anyone who wants to join the social media world can do it with absolutely no experience, no license, no training. And then of course there's nobody policing them to see if they're worthy or if what they say, do, or hear is valid and real. So we
Right,
have
exactly.
so we have another problem out there. We have ghosts, we have avatars, and we have all manner of trolling, which is a word that even I think they know in Canada.
Trolling, yeah.
Yeah. So we have those challenges in this modern world, and I'm trying to encourage businessmen and women who are trying to do their job and be as good as they can be and make sure their businesses are as safe as possible. We try and create crisis management programs before the problem emerges, Rosie, which
Okay.
I say to people, no good looking at a problem after it has become a problem and then try to solve it. You
Right.
try and create a pathway
Okay.
to solving things, and in the event that something happens, you have a plan in place. That's a wonderful thing. Remember plans? It's like that
Yeah.
moment in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, we have a plan.
All right.
Not a plan. Yeah.
So what can you maybe walk Biagio and me through like what a crisis plan looks like?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you an idea. In America, for example, in the last 48 hours, there have been two major accidents. Airlines have had terrible crashes. We've seen a Medivac Learjet crash in Philadelphia. If you want to be at the scene, you've got to understand that those companies will be attacked by the media wanting to know what happened, what's happening, what are they doing to help their passengers or their families or whatever. I saw the American Airlines spokesperson, who was, I think, the CEO or someone along those lines, the upper ends of their management team, and he was terrific. He pushed or caused the media crush to wait. He said to them, look, as you will understand, all our energy at this moment is looking after our passengers and their needs and attending to their families' concerns. Once we know what the situation is and how everyone has been attended to, then I'll come back and answer your questions, that is the media. So you're not putting the media first, but he's keeping them at bay and showing the whole marketplace that our customer is first, right? It's a horrific accident. We'll tell you what happened, how it happened, and whatever, but right now understand our immediate concern is our passengers, our crew, and their families.
Right.
Once we attend to them, then we'll come back to you. So what he's doing is effectively buying time so that the team behind him can find out what happened and how it happened and who's likely to be at fault. So again, if you take a situation that happened years ago with an Australian airline called Ansett that Biagio knows, Ansett had a Starship that overshot a runway in Hong Kong. Some people were hurt, but there were no, big casualties to speak of. But the person that stood up and pretended to be the face of Ansett at the time was the wrong person. Was all they spent doing, instead of being strong, authoritative, calm, they were like, So what they were doing, they were feeding into the media frenzy, right?
I see.
And if you were looking at the stocks of Ansett at the time, Rosie, they were coming down like this, almost as fast as the airline.
Oh, no.
You follow? So again, what we try and encourage business to understand is have a crisis plan in the event that something happens. It may never happen, but have the plan in there. Be aware of it. Know who speaks for the company at all times and why they're speaking. And it's like anything. It's like, for example, something happens in your family. Who's going to speak for the family? Who speaks for you in your business? You do.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
But
Yeah, exactly.
Why? Because you're well armed. You know all parts of the business,
Right.
and we're all the ghosts lie in the closet, right? The skeletons.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Right.
your best position to respond to any questions about Rosie.
Right, exactly. But I mean, that's something to think about, like just to have some kind of representation even to speak on
Correct.
your behalf. And yeah, I totally get that.
Always,
Yeah,
always.
that's
It's like we have
very good advice.
managers in
Right.
entertainment. It used to be your manager, male or female,
Right.
and they'd be saying,
Right.
"Oh, we're here for Rosie. We're here to announce there's an exciting new contract that's been signed, and we're
Sure.
here to tell you it's a $10 million contract with Warner Brothers, and she's releasing an album in 3 months' time." Yeah.
I see.
Now, a lot of people, believe it or not, don't understand that you need all these pathways.
Right.
So that's what we do. So a lot of media training, a lot of presenting work to help people understand how to present in front of a camera.
Yeah.
It's much better than trial and error.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but it
I learned
costs-
the hard way, so
Yeah, but
ugh, gosh.
yes, but what a wonderful journey it's been.
I have cringe stories up my sleeve that anyone that ever asks me about like advice, I'm like, okay, which one do you want to hear? The good or the bad one?
Wow. So have you got a grading for your skeletons? Are you grading A,
Oh,
B, C, D? Have you
Very
told-
much there.
Have you
very
released
much
any
there's-
for Biagio?
No, but there are some that make me I get goosebumps every time I think of them. Like, oh, what was I thinking? Like, it's just horrid.
And the answer is, you weren't. You were distracted, or you had something else on your mind. And what we try
Yeah,
and teach you
totally.
is to be at all times aware of what you're
Yeah.
saying, who you're talking to, and the same thing with media. You tell the businessmen and women, who do you speak to? You don't speak to more than one person. You're directing your comments to one. Now, whether it's
Right.
multiplied across the Twitter space and social media world, that's another matter. But don't
Right.
ever think you're talking to any more than one,
Right.
because it's a
Right.
dialogue. It's a conversation
exactly.
between you and me. So why should
Yeah,
I? So why should I
exactly.
think?
That's the key. Sorry. go
Why
ahead.
should I think there are thousands? That's arrogant.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the key, right? Is like that intimate conversation of one to one. Like, if you can just keep that, then a lot of the stress around what you're saying disappears because it's not performative. You're not performing for one person. You're just
Bravo.
talking to one person.
That's why I love your response, because it reminds me yet again how unreal reality television is.
Yeah.
Because the minute you put a microphone and a camera anywhere near people, what do again, Rosie?
Well, they panic. They stutter.
No,
they
they perform.
perform. Yes, of course.
So,
So it ain't real.
Right.
It ain't
So-
real. It's a show.
George,
Yeah.
on the real topic, talking
Yeah.
about real.
Yeah.
Rosie, I don't know if you have this show in Canada. It's called Married at First Sight.
Oh, mass.
I haven't seen it. No.
Let
Oh,
me
you-
explain.
oh,
let me
you're
explain it
missing
to
out.
you. You will marry someone at the last
Okay.
minute. You'll see them only at the altar.
Oh,
This
good
is worse than a
grief. Okay.
setup job in Europe. So
Oh, sure.
it's a reality show. So my question, George, is: are you going to help some of these producers that produce these type of shows to improve them, because they are terrible?
You know, it's interesting that you say that, and yet the ratings demand that it's a crash. What we're seeing every night on Married at First Sight, and let me just say this to you, Rosie, I only know it through the trailers. I have not
Okay.
watched. I have not watched a show. My wife has watched purely from a scientific perspective.
Okay.
Because we were sold on the idea originally that this was a social experiment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like watching people. I mean, and this is the whole premise of reality television. We're all voyeurs, and we're watching, with interest and delight, and oh my God, look at that. So that's the promise. The reality is, the people are so dull, or they're so unaware of what's required. We have to stage events within the drama to create drama. You follow?
Oh, yeah.
So some producer will throw a line at someone leading up to the next broadcasting session, and you'll watch them squirm or respond. And then what you'll see that night will be that response or that reaction.
I see.
That's why Biagio says Are you going to tell the producers how to change their ways? No. Oh, the ambulance has arrived. So
Right.
it's as crazy, as mad, as truly awful as you can imagine, and people can't get enough of it, Rosie.
That's wild.
Yeah. So Married at First Sight coming to Canada soon. I can only imagine.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
Quebecois.
How long's it been running already?
I think it comes from is it from America or Britain?
Britain, I think.
I think it's a British idea,
Okay.
and the Brits know how to do terrible television really well. Yeah, and the uglier. I mean, I'll give you a promo line that
Okay.
I sort of my eyes rolled. It's this young woman, and she's in a wedding dress, right? And they're doing a promo. So,
right.
what sort of man would you like? And she said,
Oh.
I want someone who's like David Beckham, but has done 25, but looks like he's done 25 to life in prison.
Oh.
So she wants. So what she's saying is, I want a really, really bad, dangerous boy, but if he looks like David Beckham, all the better. And I'm thinking,
Wow. Oh no.
okay, all right. I know I want to see this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that help? Does that help, Biagio? Does that help Rosie understand how tragic this is?
Well, it is tragic, George. And Rosie, if you can imagine, you sign up for this reality show.
Oh, people
you-
get paid for it. People get
Yeah,
paid.
and they get their instant fame
Wow.
and stuff.
Infamy. They've got an
Yeah.
infamy. Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
marry a stranger you've never met until you get to the altar
Ugh.
in front of the priest. I don't know if there's a priest there or not, but it doesn't matter who it is.
It's a celebrant.
it's a
celebrant,
celebrant.
Biagio.
okay.
In this
Celebrant.
modern world of ours, we've
Sorry.
even
Right.
done away. We've even done away with priests.
and faith.
You know,
I mean,
everything.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
very, very, very open to celebrants out there doing what they're needed. You know, you and I can be a celebrant, Rosie.
Look at,
Yeah. Not interested, but
It pays, Rosie. It pays very well.
oh, I know, but that would go against like my personal moral compass. I don't know if I could.
I love
don't
your
think I could.
compass. Oh God, yes. Oh, yeah.
so, George, with your media work you're doing now, you said
Yeah.
your corporations, do you delve into their marketing strategies in presenting their brand as well, or is it just purely corporate media interacting with the public?
No, we look across all spheres. Look, I've always said to people, don't think of us as something you can buy off the shelf. We're a bespoke service. In other words, we look at you, we assess your strengths and weaknesses, we look to lift your game, strengthen those areas that need strengthening, and try and showcase to you personally the things that you need more work on. We try and help you keep the things that have challenged you in the past to an absolute minimum, and help you work on the things that make you special and make you stronger and make you better. So more professional. So at the end of the day, it's a bespoke service that we address each and every person very differently. I say to people, I don't do a class of 10 people and I take them through a media school. I take each and every person, I interview them for a couple of hours. I work out very quickly their strengths and weaknesses and the things that we need to work on, and the things that I need to dampen. If I see elements in their character that we need to dampen, I let them know and say to them, understand if more of this comes up, then this is how people will perceive you. So let's work. If you're happy to, let's work this way. And that's the path, and that's the strategy that I've been using. And I stay away from politicians. I try not to teach politicians to do anything, because my view is let them learn, like Rosie and I learned, the hard way,
Sure, the hard way.
and let the audience see them for what they really are, not
Sure.
made up, puffs of smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely though.
Thank you. And we do a little bit of media coaching in other areas. For example, a musician, even a musician, I don't have the strength or the talent to teach you how to play, but what I can do is open you up to looking and addressing your audience in the best possible light. Because whether we like to admit it or not, we've both worked in front of audiences. And over the years, you learn what works and what doesn't work. And you also see audiences for what they are. And I think at the end of the day, you always want authenticity. And that's why when you look at Rosie today, I can tell very much, even without listening to the music, what I'm going to get. And that's terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful to hear that.
My
Things
pleasure.
are connected.
My pleasure. It's called engagement, and you ooze that. It's a lovely. Yeah. For example, I was told many years ago, television is televisual. So if it likes what it sees, it engages. If it doesn't, it takes longer, and that's why we have makeup artists. That's why we have hairdressers. So at the end of the day, it's like fashion.
Right.
The essence of fashion is to, when you wear something, it hides the bits that it's supposed to hide and accentuates the bits that it needs to accentuate. So when you're wearing, when you're going to a formal function and you're wearing a dress, a beautiful dress or a glamorous bit of fashion, it should showcase you in your best possible light. It shouldn't really say, oh, look, you have broader shoulders than I imagined or wider hips. It should be a line that accentuates and strengthens who you are.
That's so interesting. I mean, I don't think, well, at least on this side of the world, like I don't think we really talk about things like that. It's just, what's trendy and you wear what's trendy and not really learning to dress for your body or to dress for your image. Like, it's just, you want to look cool. And that term is so vague.
Okay. So what you're saying is your $2,000 pair of jeans that have 4 tears and 5 holes in it.
Right, exactly.
Are so trending, I can't take them off.
Basically.
Right. Okay. Now we're on the same wavelength. Okay. I'm here to save you. I'm here to save you $1,500.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Dress for your body type.
Got it.
This is great news.
Look, we all dress for fashion, but within that realm, I'm sure we can make better decisions.
Oh,
yes?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. And that's all I'm saying. I'm very aware that, hey, trendy is important. Okay. If I'm wearing my Gaultier sunglasses, hey, they're better than my Specsavers.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Mind you, your glasses look très chic.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
Are
they prescription lenses?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, I can't do contact lens even if my life depended on it. I just can't touch my eyeball.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I tried. I really did try several times.
It scratches the eyes, or it's uncomfortable? What's the problem?
Blinking.
Oh.
The last I went to an optician, they told me they couldn't let me leave with the contact lens to practice at home because I had to prove that I could put them in and out, like in front of them. And so after about 30 minutes, my eye was bloodshot red. I finally accidentally got one in, but I couldn't take it out. So she was holding open my eye.
So when did they arrest you? When did they decide this woman cannot leave our shop?
This was last year, and she said to me, that I was very peculiar. She goes, for your age, you have for your age, you have a very fast child's like blink. I was like, thanks. I just left.
What they were really saying, inadvertently, they were saying, you're much younger than you look.
I just got the heck out of there. I'm like, oh well, I guess this is not for me. It was my 5th attempt.
Do you know, we're seeing some fashion trends now, and glasses are the next big move. We're going to see with AI. We're going to see with AI a different frame. You'll see, I'm sure, a different a way of applying the lens than we've ever considered. So get ready for what's coming tomorrow, Rosie.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yep.
So, George,
Awesome.
Yes,
talking about independence,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
and reality and the new world.
yeah.
And George, Rosie would know about this, is the independent world, because she's in that world for the music. Obviously, those are on the internet, social media influencers. They're all independents. What advice would you give them with this whole new playing field in the media world? Like, coming from the training perspective that you provide the corporates, is there anything you would give them, the independents? Because you're an independent, you've got to do everything. Rosie can vouch for this. She does everything in her world.
Yep.
Recording, producing, marketing, whatever. What recommendations do you give independent artists and media, social media people?
The only thing I would say first up is do your due diligence. Before you make any big decisions, understand what you're doing and how it's going to impact you. And what do you want? Do you want to be an iconic artist? That's got to be established from the very beginning. People will say to you, well, Bob Dylan wasn't Bob Dylan until he was Bob Dylan. No, Bob Dylan was this poet who decided that he needed to vent, and his poetry became the part of the tapestry of the 20th century. So I say to people, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Who do you... My advice always is just be the best you. Just be the best version of you. And that's easy said, much harder to do. Rosie's already given us a glimpse of some of the challenges that she experienced early on and some of the mistakes that she's made. But my advice is I always want to help people not make the mistakes that we made. But, just like we should learn from history, we very rarely learn from history. Why? Because people sort of take it in, but they don't believe it. If you believe something that you've read, then you don't forget it, and you then use it. But a lot of people, when they're going through history, it's for a class project, or for it's an exercise, or they've asked Google to help them respond to some question. It's never about what they really want to know. So if you really want to know, the best thing about being an independent, get a great network going. Get some really good people. See if you can trust them. And if you're comfortable with them, then lean on one another. Because what you'll realize in this global world of ours, that the bigger the network, the better the network, the stronger the network, then you can do anything. Look, even Biagio today. We met a couple of years ago when Biagio was reaching out and developing his new media persona. And he knew of me, but I didn't know of Biagio. And what I discovered was I met a young guy who was passionate about what he wanted to do and was fearless. And whenever he's asked for any advice or support, I've tried to be there. And he then reached out and wanted to interview people around me, and I've handballed some of those contacts to him. He had the joy of discovering my wife and her talents, and she loves him, whether he understands it or not. She thinks he's a terrific guy, and said to me this morning, she said, make sure you say hello to Biagio. I said, done. It's sorted, and we'll make it happen. But networking is key, always with good people. And good people don't only care about themselves, they care about others. And they say a high tide raises all ships. So if you have good people, that spirit lifts everyone. So be surrounded by good people, Rosie.
I love that.
And you'll kick many goals and score many hits.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
Okay.
such a great quote. High tides.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
All right.
So
That's what
George-
happens when you're 100 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 46. George,
Yeah.
firstly, say thank you to Diane. A big hello for me.
Done.
And,
I think she can almost hear us in the background.
Hi, Di.
Yeah,
Hope
hi,
you're
Di.
well. And we are very close to that catch up. I know it's been a while, so
Please
thank
do
you
it.
for
Please do
your
it.
patience.
No.
And also, before we sort of wrap things up,
Yeah.
talking about Rosie and her wonderful music career.
Thank you.
She's very modest. I'm her public persona out there, and she has had a number of hits a couple of hits in the top 40 Billboard 100.
Whoa.
So
I'm going to get off this technology and listen up. What should I look for? How do I track down the music?
I'll send it
of,
to you.
Of
I'll
Rosie.
send it to you, George. Yeah.
Okay. done.
December Rose
Thank you.
music, right?
December
Anywhere?
Rose
December
music.
Rose music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a
you.
Sagittarian.
Me
So
too. Yes.
What day are we talking about, Rosie?
20th.
15th.
Oh, my dad's birthday. Oh, this is so cool.
So you've
Air high
met,
five.
you've met an Australian down under who is
Wow.
almost like a copycat of your dad. Well, all I can say is I have a daughter, and if I was to have another daughter and she was as talented and lovely as you, I'd be a very proud guy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, my
That's
pleasure.
really kind.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Rosie, George is an absolute true gentleman, and George has always supported everything that I've asked and reached out to. So, George, thanks very much for your
Always,
Absolutely.
my
as
friend.
you know.
Always, my friend. And to
And
and to
with-
you, Rosie, whatever you want to
Thank
do
you.
in life, I'm sure you'll put your mind to it and you'll get it done. And
Thank you.
continued success.
Thank you.
And we're almost at the end of the episode, but before we do that, we wrapped the episode up with some wonderful music. And for the very first episode, I'm honoured to play one of Rosie's latest singles. Rosie, I'm going to let you introduce the single before we wrap up the show. Tell us about this new
okay.
single that has been released recently.
The one that's been released recently, yeah. So it's called Higher. It's something I co-wrote and worked on with Michael Ellery, who I believe is also from Australia, actually.
Wow.
And yeah, we connected online through a mutual friend and talked about our shared love for cinematic music. And so we wrote this as a kind of like, another empowerment type of song for cinema, for commercial TV, film, and obviously listeners looking for a little motivation in their day.
You know, the most wonderful thing about music, the power of music, is it transcends and it lasts forever. There's a magnificent movie called Lawrence of Arabia and the music of Morija. Haunting, magnificent, powerful, even to this day. It's as fresh today, Rosie, as when it was first delivered. So that's the power of music. Power of music is magnificent. Oh, let me listen.
Yeah, we're definitely going to play that. So before we let you go, George, thank you so much for joining us on the Mind Positive show, the very first episode. We're honoured to have you here.
Pleasure.
Rosie, appreciate you as always, as you know.
Likewise.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. And let's take you to Rosie's latest single, Higher. Thank you for tuning in.
Do you feel like this is your time and you're learning what it means to fly? Think you found the reason to your why? Get up, go touch the sky. What you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting for? What you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting for? So come on and let it take you higher, higher. Go and get it, let it take you higher, higher. Higher, higher. dreams start to come alive. Oh, you got the fire in your fight. Get up, and go fly. What you waiting, what you waiting, what you waiting for? What you waiting?